All right, thanks. If you're watching this, probably not live, but watching it back later, I just wanted to chat to you about something that happened recently in my life and reflect on the lesson for problem solving and probably life in general. So, there was a situation not so long ago where I was trying to understand a difficult problem, and it had to do more with understanding, say, for example, why someone I know was struggling with their sense of identity. They'd been unemployed for a long time, they hadn't had a job for a long time, and they said something like, I just want to contribute. And when I thought about that, I thought anyone coming with a general problem solving sort of approach would look at that situation and they think to themselves, well, obviously you want to contribute. You've been out of the workplace for, for some time. You've not done a lot of work and, you're feeling like you're being left out. But when we dig a little bit deeper, we get to the real reason. So I was reading a book about money by Tony Robbins. I think it's called Money, Master the Game or something like that. It's not bad. And there's a section in there where he talks about value and how you can increase the value of yourself or others around you to get more money and, speed up your path to financial freedom. One of the things that really struck me about what he said related directly to this idea about empathy. And when I spoke to this person and said, well, what do you mean you don't feel like you can contribute? Well, I've been out of the workforce so long. I don't know how I could contribute. I don't know what I could do to actually become more in tune with this. I don't feel like I'm doing anything valuable. So society places the value on that person right down the bottom. In that person's own mind, their value has plummeted, or if you want to think of it in business terms, their stock has plummeted. So what's that got to do with empathy and problem solving? Often when we're in a situation and we're talking to people, we don't understand what it is that's at the heart of the matter. We think we understand. We think we know. We think we've got this really good idea about what problem solving is and how it works. So we go in there trying to solve the problem. Well, if we start with listening and collecting the data, in other words, listening to what people are saying, taking on board their comments, trying to understand their world, and digging deeper with them over a period of time, you will get to a spot where you hit what I call the empathic core of the problem. And that's the part where the person's real problem is at hand. And the classic example that I often use is the idea of someone who wants to be rich in business or someone who wants to climb the ladder of success and have status. When you ask them, why do you want to have status? They may not accept that. But you say, well, why do you want to be, in my case, a vice chancellor or a dean or something? Well, I want people to respect me. That's a common answer, right? Well, why do you want people to respect you? And as you ask these questions, you dig a little deeper, you begin to realize that perhaps this person wants to be on top or wants to feel the status they get from having a title. If it's a business person who's extremely wealthy, or perhaps wants to be extremely wealthy, rather, they might have this idea of, well, I need to make $100,000 a month to get my children through university or college, whatever it might be. And then when you ask them, well, why is it important that they get an education? Well, I didn't have an education, and my life was hard early on because I had to work all these menial jobs. And you keep asking these questions. Okay, that's important. So tell me a little bit more about why it's significant for you that they don't have to go through that. And as you dig a little deeper, you'll get to that core of the problem. So people always act in a rational way. They always do things for rational reasons. So then you can shortcut this by thinking about it this way. If someone is rational, they might have a rational approach to what they're doing in their own mind, but underneath that, there's a deeply held emotional set of beliefs that are driving their actions. In an organization or in a problem-solving setting, you actually want to dig deeper in the beginning and collect what I call the expressions of the problem. So how is the problem being expressed? If people aren't turning up to work or they don't want to come back to work because they want to work from home, what's the main reason for that? You might think, oh, well, they're lazy, but it may not be that simple. It might be something along the lines of, well, they don't want to come back to work because they get more done at home. They're not distracted by the work environment and they can spend more time with their family. They have an unspoken and deeply held belief that spending time with their family is the most important thing. It might be about control. Some salespeople I've talked to, they want to get to the top of their profession because they want to sell the most. They want to have this ball and lifestyle. They want to have tons of money and all the rest of it. goes with it. But ultimately, when I ask them, why do you want success? Status. They want to be seen as the best. They want to drive the fanciest car. They want other people to think that they've made it, so that in their own little community, they're top of the heap. So there's all these under the surface beliefs, and this is why 95% of books that talk about problem solving, management theory are rubbish, because they don't actually talk about the real reasons for people's motivations. So a couple of years ago, and I'll finish with this, a couple of years ago, I was traveling before all this nonsense has happened in the last year, last couple of years, not nonsense, but all the restrictions. I was in Hong Kong, and you'll see in some parts of Hong Kong, shops at that stage wouldn't open until like 11 o'clock, and you couldn't get anything. And I was used to doing that. And when I asked people why, and they said, oh, well, people in this part of town prefer to shop later. Made complete sense to me. But then I thought, well, what about the people that like to shop early? Oh, they can go to another shopping center. There's these other options. I kept thinking to myself, how odd. But then when I studied it, and I studied the nightlife and how people like to stay up later, and the vibe that's created at nighttime, I thought, yeah, it makes sense. This is a lot more sort of authentic to the region and what they like to do and how much they enjoy, going out and having fun. Same thing on the Sunshine Coast where I'm from. You wouldn't see too many people out at 9 o'clock in the morning. You see older people, but as the day wears on, you see families. So they've got to have time to get up, get the children ready, get them to the beach. It takes a lot of effort. So they do it slowly, and everybody seems to be there at the same time because they're all going through the same sort of process. So next time you're faced with a difficult person at work or a difficult problem, instead of immediately making a judgment, ask the question, what is really going on here? Number one, what's the underlying rationality? What is the underlying rationality? What is the reason why they're behaving like this? Number two, what's the underlying motivation? So if someone keeps turning up late to work, or there's absenteeism, there's motivational factors there. Is it the environment? And number three, and probably one of the most important parts of it, why do people do what they do? Well, what's the emotional reason? What's the deeply held, often unspoken set of beliefs that people hold on to that make them do what they do? Uncover that, and then you can start playing around with the real reasons why the problems are that way, the difference between needs and wants and things like that. All right, have a good day, everyone. And if you're watching this later, which I think almost everybody will be, if anybody watches it at all, I hope you've enjoyed it. Thank you.